Hi all, in this session we are going to discuss about constructor concept in the Java. So what is a constructor and what are the different types of constructors, and we'll try to understand the concept here. So let me take, we know that this is a class structure, right? So in the class we have data members. So let me take one data member. So let us assume I have one data member and one method I have. So here we can write our logical block of statements. So we know that in that class we have data members and method. Now try to understand what is a constructor and what is the purpose of this constructor. So where we can use the constructor. So while creating the object, right? Let me create an object for this class. How to create an object? Class name. So obj is my, it's a variable. Obj is my object name and new operator. And with this is the constructor we are calling. So this constructor, what is the purpose of this constructor is to allocate the memory of our input of the programs. So in the class, as we discussed, data members and methods we have. So for that inputs, memory allocation should happen, right? So for to allocate the memory, this it helps actually. Constructor helps. So here, let me print this variable. So I'm just trying to print this variable to understand how memory allocation happens there. So with respect to object name, I'm just calling the variable here. Let's try to understand. I'm just running this. So ideally the output is 0. Why? Because so what happens is when control comes to main method, so this object is creation happening, right? So control comes to here. So it will, this concept of this constructor is nothing but this default constructor Java will create for us. There it will go the cursor, and that mean control, and there that will assign memory for your a variable, and it will place the default value. What is the default value of integer? This is integer data type, right? Integer data type default value is 0. That is the reason it is assigning 0 first. So here, if you observe, I did not create any construction over here, right? What happens is if you don't create any constructor, Java will create for us one constructor. How it looks like. So let me take this out. So it's a access modifier public and with the class name. So this is a default constructor Java can create. So what happens is when I traverse here, if I press F3, so see cursor is going right. So constructor is it will go to default constructor. Then the default value it will assign to your memory will be allocated for your variables. This is clear. Now, next step. What are the different types of constructions? Before different types of constructors we observe. So if you see what is the difference between, let us assume I have one method here. So run is my method. Okay. So just let us assume I have one method. Whatever, VOID, right? Yeah. So I have one method, right? If you see, it looks like same. This is also looks like same, and this is also looks like same. What is the difference? What is the difference between method and constructor? If you carefully observe, so this method will run or call after creating an object. Suppose if I want to run this, let me, okay, if I want to run this method, what I can do? With respect to object name, I can call it, right? So obj dot that run method. Okay. But if you observe, whatever. So if you observe here constructor is calling while creating an object. Method is calling after creating an object. So this is a key difference here. So constructor we are calling while creating the object. The purpose of constructor is to allocate the memory of the your program. So this how we can distinguish. And high level, if we say constructors is a special type of methods, we can say simply. It's a special type of methods. Okay. So now we'll try to understand a constructor. What are the different types of constructors available? We'll try to understand and purpose of the constructors also. Suppose I am initializing value here, right? Let me take, we have three types of constructor. One is default constructor and one more is, this is actually default constructor is a implicit constructor. Suppose control X. If I if I don't create or if I don't construct any constructor here, Java is creating for us, right? That we are calling as an implicit constructor. But if you define by your own, this we are calling as an explicit constructor. That means explicitly you are creating in the program. So that is the difference between implicit and explicit. So, and different types of constructors, if we consider, this is a no parameters we are passing, right? So let me create another constructor. So how to create the constructor is, constructor name should be class name. So with class name, we should create it. So this is a duplicate, right? That is the reason it's showing. So what we can do is, this is a non-parameter we can consider. So there are no arguments we are passing, parameters we are passing, right? So here, parameterized constructor we are taking here. So let's take one int variable. I'm just taking int d. So what happens here is, we are parameterized constructor we are calling, right? So call this constructor. How it works will observe. So how to call? Same way, right? Just this is a default constructor. In similar way, I'm just calling the parameters constructor. So parameter constructor, if you call, what is the parameter that you should pass? Integer, right? So some value will just pass it. So what happens is the same object name. Okay, right? So if you see now, again, I'm creating one object with a parameterized constructor. That means I'm trying to send the value of this 5 to this variable a. What happens is, so okay, let me call with respect to object 1. Okay, what happens? So first I'm calling obj.a, right? Whenever you create an object, so first this 5 value, it will go to parameterized constructor. So if I press F3, so control here it's going, right? So this 5, it will go to this variable, right? So simply we can say, once this comes to D, we can assign it to where A you need to assign it, right? Yeah. So what happens? This 5 will go to here, and that 5 will we are assigning into the a. Ideally, now the a value is 5. Like this, you can assign the values to your programs also for your inputs. See, 5 is printing. So this we are calling as a parameterized constructor. You can have number of parameters. Let's say load g. So number of parameters, whatever you want, you can create it like this. So same concept like method overloading, right? Method name is same and different arguments, right? Similarly, parameter name, constructor name is same, different arguments you can create, and you can create the parameter constructor. This we are calling as a parameterized constructor. And one more constructor we have, that is a, one second, for that separate thing I'll take it. Yeah, copy constructor we have. So we have seen default constructor and parameterized constructor, and now copy constructor. Copy constructor. So how copy constructor works is, we have to send one existing object. Okay, let's practically see. We'll understand this. Suppose int I have one variable, and I have one. I'm just creating copy constructor. So constructor, this is one constructor, default constructor, right? Let us assume I have taken into this is a value as we discussed sometime before, right? Same way I'm initializing this value once it comes to b. Okay, this is fine. This is a parameterized constructor. Some time back we have seen. Now we'll observe the copy constructor. So similarly, I'll create this constructor, one more constructor. We know that the constructor name should be say class name. So here, so what I am doing is, if you want to copy constructor, right? First, this is syntax. You have to write the class name inside this, and you can create one variable. Let us assume j. So once that variable copy constructor will comes, okay, this part we will fill once value comes, then we'll understand. So ideally, how we can create the object? So we know that. Let me create one obj. My object name equals to new operator and class name, right? So here the problem is, once you can define your parameterized constructor. So, okay, you are not passing anything, right? Here you have created a parameterized constructor here, and this is a copy constructor we are saying. There is a arguments. So let me send first b value. Suppose some value I am sending. This is okay. This is where aware of that. Now we'll try to understand the copy constructor. I want to create one more object. We say one. Okay, right new. So here, how what I am passing is, already I have obj object. That object values I am passing to create another object like this. So this is what copy constructor we call. So what happens is, this obj value, it will go to, currently what is the obj value 5, it is there, right? This 5, it will go to here first. So if I cursor over here, so my control is going there. This value, that what is the value? Obj value. Whatever this obj value contains, this value, it will go here. Once it will hold this variable, right? That value. Once it will go, I'll simply say that j dot a. Whatever coming, right? I'm just adding to this variable. So whatever coming this value, right? Just I'm adding this value to here. So what happens if I print? Let's try to print this. So let me try to, with respect to object one, I'm printing A first. So 5 is printing. What happens when you call this with respect to object, right? Obj I'm calling this one. So 5 will go to here and fall into here, right? This value we are just assigning to the variable. That is the reason 5 is printing. Now let's try to print the obj1. So we have created one more object with the obj1, right? Just we create with this obj1. So what will happen? We'll observe. So same value it should come, right? Because already in the obj whatever value we have 5, right? That value we are passing to this copy constructor. So this it will fall into here. This 5 value it will be here, and this 5 value replaced in the A. So let's try to change any other value and we'll observe that. So 10, 10 it will print. Yeah. So 10 first it will go to here, normal parameterized constructor, and it will assign the 10 to variable. And similarly, and next one is obj. So we are sending another object into this object. This value, okay, already previous existing obj values are there, right? That values we are sending here also. So this is a copy constructor. So we have three types of constructor: default constructor, parameterized constructor, and copy constructor. So, and few more things. Once you can write the any constructor. Suppose I am saying this is a one constructor, right? Parameterized constructor. This is a copy constructor I am saying. So once you can define any constructor, by default Java doesn't give us the default constructor. Let us assume now. Let us see that first. Okay, what I am trying to do here is, suppose if I write here, so this is a default, I'm not giving anything. Okay, so ideally it will show the error because there is no default constructor here. That is our responsibility to create the default constructor, because any constructor if you create, Java doesn't give us. So you have to construct your default constructor also. Let me type the default constructor. What's the class name? With class name, you can create the constructor, right? Just this one. Yeah, this is a default constructor. Now this it should run. This point we should remember. And one more thing is, okay, same value. That is the reason. Okay, I'll say mention some other thing. Fine. Next one is, what we need to remember is, if you mention or if you define any constructor, default constructor Java doesn't provide. We have to create our own constructor. That is a one point. Second one is, we don't have any return statement concept here. That means usually we can write return statements, right? Any integer, int, float, double, right? That return type of concept we don't have in anything in the constructions concept. And one more is here only public, private, protected only valid. Suppose simply if I make it as static. So if I create any, I mean, static here, so I'm just writing one static event. And also remember that static, non-static concept not applicable in the constructor level. So if you just mention the static, it is treating as a method, and it will return one error if you see copy construct only public protected and private are permitted. That means static concept also not there. And also access modifiers only public, private, protected are available. So these are the points to remember while working in the constructor. So just quickly we'll review this. What we understood is what is a constructor? Constructor is a block of code similar to the method. So it is called call when create an object. And a few points we have to remember: constructor, how to create a constructor. Constructor name should be same as a same class name. No return type concept, and public, private, protected modifiers are allowed. There is no static and non-static concept here. These are the concepts of constructors. Thank you.